Hi, my name is Shawn in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the book pusher tag. Well, the original video is called Tag I'm a Book Pusher, but I'm just gonna call it the book pusher tag for this video. My makeup looks really bad today, and I look like a clown. Like, I'm not even joking. Why am I like this? Why can't I just do makeup like a normal person? Oh well. So there is 10 questions in this tag, and I'm just gonna go through this really quickly. The first question is, what's the one book/series you hope people will read as a result of your legacy? I mean, I don't really have a legacy yet, and I don't know if I'll ever have a legacy, but one series that I really want everyone to read that I preach about on this channel non-stop is the Dragori series by Ben Alderson. The first book is Cloaked in Shadow, and then it is followed by Found in Night, and then Found in Night is followed by Poisoned in Light. So there's several reasons why I want everyone to support and read this series. The first thing is Ben Alderson is gay, and I think that it's really important to support gay authors because looking at my bookshelf, and I'm sure most people can relate to me, most of the authors on my bookshelf are straight white authors. We need more diversity, and we need to not just read books through LGBTQ+ books, but we need to read books by LGBTQ+ authors. We need to support them. We need to diversify our shelves, and I think this is a great series to start off with diversifying your shelves. There's also tons and tons of LGBTQ+ representation in here. In this world, you can have any sexuality or romantic attraction that you identify as, and no one's gonna judge you or hate you for it, and I love that. Also, this was the first series that I ever read that had an asexual character, and it made me cry, and it made me happy, and it made me feel seen and understood. I want to make a video about it in the future, but every time I try and film a video about it, I get scared and I cry. I mean, I've like briefly touched on it in my Twitter and stuff, so I've sort of talked about it, and I have talked about it on my Goodreads before, but asexuality is something that I didn't understand or learn about, and I didn't understand that sexuality and romantic attraction could be different. And it's because of that lack of understanding that I took a while to figure out who I am, and I'm still trying to figure out who I am, but like having a character that has a different sexuality than their romantic attraction, especially in an amazing fantasy series, meant a lot to me, and I think it's really important for people to see characters like these characters in the book. And it's also just an amazing fantasy series with elves and shapeshifters and elemental magic, so I highly recommend this series, especially if you're looking for more diversity on your shelves, and I really hope that everyone reads this series. You have to push through the typos. But the thing is, I read a lot of independently published books or books published by small publishing companies, so like I'm used to seeing typos in books and I'm fine with it, and I encourage all of you to just try. Maybe you have to read a sentence a couple times to figure out what's happening, but highly recommend this series. Definitely one that I want everyone to read because of my legacy. What is the #1 book/series you routinely push onto friends and family? Well, recently I've been pushing the book Brown Girl Dreaming onto my friends and family, and I got my mom to read this one. Brown Girl Dreaming is a book that I had to read for my class, and it is a memoir by Jacqueline Woodson. It's written in verse and it's beautiful, and it talks a little bit about the civil rights movement, but it's also weaved into the memories and growing up story of Jacqueline Woodson, the author. And I think that it was just really well done, and I think it talks about racism and civil rights, but it's talked about in a way that's easy for both kids and adults to understand, so I've been trying to get my family and people I know to read it because I think that it's a really influential book that everyone should read. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but I had to read it for my class, and even though the class was really hard and I wasn't a huge fan of the class, that book was one of the best things that came out of that class, and I'm actually sort of grateful that I took that class because of that book. What book did BookTube push on you which you loved? The Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. It is amazing. I've talked about it non-stop on this channel. I'm all caught up on the books, which I very rarely do. Normally when I read series and I get caught up, it's after the final book came out, but I'm actually caught up on the Miss Peregrine series. It's so good. It's like a little bit of creepy horror, but not very much, but like superpowers too with kids and antique photos, and it's just an experience that everyone should read and just enjoy the book. BookTube pushed this book on me, so I picked it up and I read it and I fell in love. What book did BookTube push on you which you hated? A Darker Shade of Magic. I can rant about this book for days. Everyone is obsessed with this book and I just don't see the hype. I read this book for a readathon, but I couldn't really read it that quickly because it wasn't interesting to me. It was insanely boring, and the main female character was one of the most annoying characters that I've ever read in my life. I could not stand her. There was nothing at all appealing about that book, and I am not sure why it's popular. Maybe it's just popular because everyone likes boring fantasy books, but I don't know, it's just not good, and I felt like I was reading a different book than everyone else because I'd heard from booktubers how good it was. So I was like, I'm gonna love this, it's gonna be fantastic, and then I read it and I was like, what? I think it was also partly an issue with V.E. Schwab's writing style. I don't think I liked her writing style that much. I'm gonna give her other books a chance, but like A Darker Shade of Magic is so awful. I will never finish that series. Next question is, what book has been recommended to you which you just haven't gotten around to yet? A book that I feel like everyone is recommending to me nonstop that I haven't read yet is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling from what I've heard. Everyone is talking about it. I think during Halloween, Bloomsbury Publishing recommended me to read this book. Like, they DM'd me and they were like, read this book. Because they did this poll on Halloween. They're like, what are you dressing up as for Halloween? And I was like, I'm dressing up as a Bobbaton student, like from Harry Potter. And they were like, read A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I was like, okay, because all the bookstagrammers I know was recommending this book nonstop, and Bloomsbury Publishing was like, you need to read it. So I really need to read it soon. I got this book on Amazon Prime Day, but here's the thing, I don't really like Amazon, but Prime Day had such good deals because I'm a Prime member, and this book was like 50% off, so I got it. I think part of the reason why I haven't read it yet is because it's thick, but I don't know, I really need to get around to reading it soon. I know that the second book of the series I think is out, and I think there's going to be a third book, so hopefully I'll be really absorbed in this series and I love it. But I'm currently reading the Twilight series, and I should probably finish that before I start another big series. Next question is, what book / series do you think is underhyped? The Article 5 series by Kristen Simmons. It is a dystopian series. It is amazing, and it is personally my favorite dystopian series. I suck at describing what the series is about, but like, it has the best romance in a dystopian series that I've ever read in my life. I didn't like the romance in the Hunger Games, and I didn't like the romance in the Match series, but Article 5, the romance in there is amazing, and it's just a dystopian society, and it's really, really well written, and I'm confused why it's not more popular. Like, I get that a lot of people are over their dystopian phase, but like, why wasn't it popular when the Hunger Games movies were coming out? It was like right up everyone's alley, and it's so good, and if you still like dystopian, please read it. What book do you recommend for a good cry? The Death Cure. You'll have to read The Scorched Trials and The Maze Runner first, but The Death Cure made me sob. It also made me depressed, so it's not necessarily the best good cry book, but it made me sob. So if you're looking for a book that makes you cry, read the Maze Runner series and let yourself get invested in the characters. Don't look at spoilers and just let yourself be shocked at the deaths in The Death Cure. What book do you recommend for a good laugh? Finally by Wendy Mass. Now, I don't laugh at books often, and I didn't laugh at this book, but it is a funny book, so I think normal people laugh at it, but most of the time I don't laugh at books unless they're stupid. But Finally is a really good book. It's the second book in a series, but I honestly hated the first book, and you can understand the second book without reading the first book. The first book is like 11 birthdays, and I had to read it for school when I was in elementary school, and I remember just hating it. But I read Finally this year, and it was so amazing. It's really funny. I highly recommend that everyone goes and reads it, and it has some really relatable parts to it. Next up is, what's your favorite nonfiction read? I don't read nonfiction that often, but the first one that I can think of that I really liked is Embrace Your Weird by Felicia Day. I don't know if this is considered nonfiction. It's a self-help, but Felicia Day also talks a little bit about her life in here, and it's just a all-around fun book. It helps with a lot of parts of your life, and it helps you find ways to be creative, and this book has been really influential on me because it's inspired me to try and seek creative hobbies that I can find joy in. And I originally wanted to do scrapbooking because of this book, because it just somehow, like, scrapbooking got in my mind, but there's a new hobby that this book helped me find that is creative, and I'll be releasing more details about my creative activity in a future video because I will be opening an Etsy shop where I will be selling some things. And ever since I read this book in October, I think it was, I have just been inspired to do creative things and find creative things. And this book is partly the reason why I'm opening an Etsy shop. It is a workbook, so if you're going to get this book, you need to get a physical copy or you need to have a journal nearby. Let me show you an example of an activity. So this activity says draw your face in the figure below, hugging your anxiety. So that's what I tried to do there. I'm not the greatest at drawing, but this is a book that no one else is going to see your work in it, so it's okay if your drawings in here aren't the best. Also, there's a page where you're supposed to rip it out. So it's just an all-around fun and influential book, and I highly recommend that everyone reads it, especially if you are feeling like you're lacking creativity and you want to do creative things, or if you're struggling with anxiety and you just need a good pick-me-up. The final question is, what book do you recommend for comfort? I was originally going to say Harry Potter, but I don't want to say that for comfort because of the author's transphobic beliefs. As I have said hundreds of times, and I will continue to say on this channel, I do not support transphobia. Trans women are women, trans men are men, and non-binary people are non-binary. I love and support all trans people, and so I can't recommend Harry Potter for comfort anymore because it's not comfort, because the author is a hateful human being. So the book that I'll be recommending for comfort that's helping me through a hard time is Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I think everyone knows what this is about. There's vampires and werewolves, and it's a romance, and it's paranormal, and it's really good, and it is just something about this. It's just really comforting. I watched the movie recently too, and it's really comforting. So if you're looking for a nice comfort read, highly recommend Twilight. I know that not everyone likes it, but just give it a chance. Don't listen to what everyone's saying about it. Just figure out on your own if you like it or not. So that's all for the book pusher tag. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. All of my other social media, including my Bookstagram and Goodreads, will be linked down in the description below. I upload book-related videos every Tuesday, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye!